Welcome, everybody, back to a Super Bowl edition of the Wire to Wire Sports Podcast. I'm the NFL genius, Sheen Walzak. In the upper left corner, we got Kent State's own, Cleveland's own, College Cuttrell.
Gentlemen, this week I'm like up, I'm down, I'm happy. There's news that excites me. There's news that makes me upset. Great week of sports, though. I'm sure you guys are fired up over there in Philly. Lot to be cheerful for. But this is gonna be a fun one.
The anxiety is officially set in. I'm anxious. I'm not telling you right now. This is like, it sounds crazy, right? You're supposed to enjoy the run. I don't enjoy this. This is not enjoyable to me. It's only enjoyable if you win. I have been sick this week. Like, not sick, like stomach virus sick, none of that shit. Just not like, oh God, man. I'm nervous.
I hear you. Like, look, very different kind of feel there, but I was just there like a week and a half ago, like with Ohio State, like leading up to it, just anxious. I'm just ready to get it going. Like, obviously I'm not playing, like no matter what I do, like I can't control the outcome, but at the same time, it feels like I got to get ready for the game on Sunday, or in our case on Monday. So I feel where you're coming from.
I mean this when I say it, and I mean it in the nicest way possible. I legitimately, I don't know how, like, it will genuinely affect me, like, way more than it should. Like, I'm not normal. This shit's not normal. It's actually unhealthy.
I'm with you. I get it.
I'll go to somebody that's a little bit less, I guess, crazy. Uncle Shally, Scholastic Shally, fellow Eagle fan, my brother, William Shallcross.
Calm, cool, and collected over here, Gene.
I don't know how.
I'm confident. I just for once I just have a great feeling. I think we're gonna win. I'm ready to go.
Bro, I want to win so bad. And it's like the first one was insane, right? I don't know if I could ever top that. I watched that with my dad before he passed away, and it was an awesome feeling. I took him to Frankfurt and Cotman, watched people go up and down the polls. Like, I was just talking to a buddy of mine the other day. They win the Super Bowl. I don't even think I'll go to the parade. I'm old, bro. I'm going to watch that shit on the TV. I'm not kidding. It's terrible.
The second one is different than the first one, though, so I get it.
It's true. When you wait that long for the first one, it definitely hits different as well.
I'll tell you what, we're going to get into that. We have a whole Super Bowl special for you guys. We got prop bets. We got all things that we're going to get into as far as the Super Bowl. It will be the meat of the show. If you're having a turkey and cheese on a white bread sandwich, I'm going to hit you with a slice of toast, and then the meat's going to be right in the middle, and then I'm going to hit you with a slice of toast. We got NBA action to talk about, NFL, we got trivia, then we got more NFL, then we got a little UFC to talk about. I don't even think there's anything going on. Is there anything going on this week? There's nothing going on this week.
Like, what do you mean?
What do you mean?
Super Bowl. That's it. That's all there is to it.
Oh.
But we do have to talk about major news that has happened in the NBA, and we're a little late on it, right? We're a little late on it. I'll just be real with you. Sometimes Wednesday's a very good show for us to be on, and sometimes it's not. This is one of those shows where I guess you got a little bit more context, but everyone's already given their opinion on the trade heard around the world. And if you don't know, if you're living under a rock, Luka Doncic, a 25-year-old reigning scoring champ who just took the Dallas Mavericks to the NBA Finals, was traded for Anthony Davis, 30-year-old All-NBA center who's often out with injuries. They call him Anthony Day-to-Day Davis. It's his nickname. Used to be All Day, now it's Day-to-Day. And my first reaction to the trade, what the hell is Dallas thinking? And I took like, I don't know, maybe like 2-3 hours. Like it was at midnight. I couldn't believe it happened. The next morning, I'm kind of pondering it. I'm thinking about it. And it kind of made sense to me. I think that, let me just be very clear. And I'll get your opinions on it in a minute. But I think Dallas got fleeced, right? I think they lost the trade. I think it's evident they lost the trade. But if I understand what they're doing, I guess I can understand it. Here, let me give you guys, I guess, a thought process. What if Dallas, this is just a thought process, goes out and uses that money that they just saved, trades Klay Thompson, that first-round pick, a bunch of first-round picks, and gets Kevin Durant, and goes Kyrie, KD, AD, and they win a title this year? Does that change the way you think about the trade? Now, to me, I still never would do it. I have a 25-year-old budding superstar that's ready to sign the Supermax contract with my team. Don't believe what you're hearing in the media. Don't believe the Dallas bullshit. I promise you, it's not true. The guy wasn't turning down $140 million. That's the difference. That's what he lost. Gentlemen, your first thoughts, your reaction, and then we'll debate about it.
Go ahead, Joe.
So for me, I mean, I think the big thing is that it was obviously shock. I mean, I'd say it's the most like out of nowhere trade of all time, and I'd argue that it's arguable to be one of the biggest, if not the biggest, NBA trade of all time. First time ever in NBA history that you had two reigning all NBA players traded for each other. So I mean, that alone lets you kind of know that like where things, how unprecedented this is, you know, as a trade as a whole. For me, it just didn't make sense to me. I mean, I think I get it. I get it from the Lakers side of things. Like, you give me a chance to get Luka Doncic, I only have to give away one first-round pick. You're getting Anthony Davis, which is AD's great, but you're giving me Luka, who's 5 years younger, literally just entering the prime of his career here. And I've seen what he can do with rosters that aren't necessarily the greatest. So, like, I would look at it like, if we actually build around Luka and like do everything that we need to do, we're going to set ourselves up for now and the future. For the Mavs, it was like, all right, well, last year in the finals, we had some defensive deficiencies, and we feel like we lost that series against the Celtics because of our lack of defense. However, on the flip side of that, for me, I'm looking at it now, like when you're in the playoffs, like for the Mavs, and I get it, AD fits the roster better because now you can have like a true 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 as like a starting lineup, and obviously defensively, it makes a big difference there. And you get AD playing his natural position with the 4, with the big right alongside him there. So I get all of that. But at the same time, like now when things get, when it gets to crunch time, you're going to rely on either Anthony Davis to take over games offensively, or you have Kyrie to do it. And that's really it. And I feel like this Mavs team, and obviously the rosters have been slightly different there, but you knew that Mavs team was only going to go as far as Luka allowed them to go, or how far he carried them. AD doesn't have that impact to where he can carry them. Again, I think he's a better fit for the roster as a whole, but if they went to the finals last year, like, I just think the window is so small with AD, it does not make sense for me to make this kind of move when you won the West before. And I get it. You got to find a way to compete with the Bostons or the New Yorks and, you know, just the teams with the athletic wings out there. But it just doesn't make sense to me. I'm still at a loss here for the Dallas side.
Sally, it's on you, brother. I want to hear your opinion on it because I got stronger feelings of it in a minute. But like, I kind of wanted to give my first knee-jerk reactions. No,
I mean, listen, there's a ton to unpack here, and we're probably all going to go around the ring here a couple times. Shock, I think, is you know, the right word for it. You know, like Gene said, we woke up and, you know, I saw it on Twitter, but I saw it on kind of like a couple places that weren't, you know, it wasn't like ESPN. So I was like, like somebody's screwing around. Like, no way Dallas just woke up and traded Luka. And then, of course, you know, I sat there and scrolled down and, you know, there was ESPN and everything else. And I was really shocked. I will say I kind of get it. You know, the more and more that's come out, I do agree with Gene. I don't believe the money thing. I don't think he was going anywhere. Nobody turns down $100 and some million. Like, let's just be realistic about that. But some of the other stuff that's come out is stuff we've talked about on the show before. I don't know if that's enough for me to trade Luka Doncic. I mean, actually, I'll answer that. It's not enough for me to trade Luka Doncic. But like I said, I definitely wouldn't have done it, but I understand it. And I think, like I said, I think I listened to a little bit of what Cuban said today, and he said behind the scenes, it wasn't great, and he's not even obviously with him selling the majority stake 2 years ago. There was a lot that I think got fractured there because there's a lot of things that Cuban couldn't even do for Luka anymore. Obviously Cuban, like Luka was going to be Cuban's new Dirk, when he drafted him, and that's what he thought he was going to be, and I mean it's what he is. But I think the new ownership group has a different vision of what they want to do, and I think that fracture, like Mark said, he said when more of it comes out, I think you're going to see it was a little bit evident, and he didn't like it because, like he said, he's not involved in the decision-making process anymore. Like, obviously they didn't run this by him. He's out of the loop, and, they decided to do what they decided to do. I think if something crazy doesn't happen by tomorrow, with adding a KD or something like that, then I really don't get it. I don't know how you could, argue to me that you went forward and not backwards here if you're Dallas. LA, I get. Listen, I don't know. I'll be honest, I don't think Luka and LeBron are going to work great, but you've now ensured yourself the next superstar for, LeBron can't play forever, and we all know he's coming to the end. LA has just guaranteed themselves to have the guy, that they can start a team and build around and be the huge star, huge attraction, the next Kobe, next LeBron, however you want to cut it. And they have him now, and that's what they can do. And like Gene said, they didn't really give up a ton to get him. Feel bad for AD because I feel like he kind of just got caught in the crossfire of all this BS. And he was the one that, had to go back to Dallas. But it's a business, and, it's just crazy. It's wild. Like, I honestly can't believe we're sitting here talking about it. Like, I really felt like, like a lot of people did, like when Dallas drafted him, like he was just going to play there forever. Like, like I said, Cuban is ridiculously close with Dirk and his family. And, Luka was kind of like the next version of him. And now he's a Laker and got traded out of nowhere, on a Tuesday night. So
Saturday night, but yeah.
Saturday, yes. It's wild. It's wild.
The only reason I knew it was Saturday night, I was still yeeting, bro. Jay Uso just won the Royal Rumble. I'm not like I was on emotional high.
I literally just went to bed, like turned off the Rumble. Like I was like, you know what? I'm ready to go to bed now.
Here's the three weird things that come out since the trade. And this is almost an advantage of being on Wednesday and not on Sunday or Monday to be able to talk about this. The first thing is Nico's press conference afterwards was just super weird. I mean, I don't know if you really dove into it, but he's like, Jason Kidd I didn't talk to anyone. I made this trade. This is on me. And it was just kind of, I don't know how to explain it. It was an awkward press conference. It was almost as bad as them introducing Schottenheimer as the head coach of the Dallas Cowboys. Just felt weird.
Jason Kidd definitely felt, you could see it on his face. Like it almost felt like beforehand, like they're like, hey, before we go out there, you better make it abundantly clear that I had nothing to do with this. Like if this ship goes down, don't attach my name to it. Because
listen, it's either a move that he looks like a genius in maybe this year or maybe next year, but if not, it's a move that gets you fired if it doesn't work the right way. And yeah, I mean, from a little bit I saw in the interview he gave, after the press conference, he talked to Rob at the Lakers, and he, blatantly told him that if this leaks at all, like it's done. Like I'll just shut it down and say it didn't happen. Because they didn't want people bidding. They didn't want to, like, they wanted a clean trade. It had to be kept secret. Like Rob couldn't tell anybody at the Lakers. And like he said, he didn't tell Jason Kidd or anybody else. And because I'm sure if he did, he would have got, as bad as it might have been behind the scenes. And again, some of that stuff I do believe. I still don't think it's okay. Well, you have our blessing to go trade Luka. Like that's that. I think you're far apart from those two things.
Agreed. I also think the craziest part of it all was he said that that was a move that ultimately set them up for the now and the future. And then, people were talking about it like, well, like what does that look like for you? He's like, yeah, we're good to win for the next 3 to 5 years. And then they're like, well, what about like 10 years? And he basically says, well, I mean, I might not even be here 10 years from now. So it's like, all right, so that this isn't going to work out and you're probably going to get fired if it doesn't work out. And you're like, hey, you guys may be screwed 10 years from now, or, after the 5-year mark, you guys are screwed, but I don't care because you won't be mad at me anymore because I won't be here. Like that is a wild stance to take.
I just thought it was interesting. There's a lot of different things. Colin Cowherd came out and said he feels like that Nico Harrison was pushed to make this trade by ownership, that this was not his decision, that he's saying it was, but he was told to make the trade. And then the PR claims that are coming out from Dallas. One, they said that they were getting ahead of next summer, that he wasn't going to sign a supermax contract with them, and that they were looking for the future. Two, they made claims about his him being not in shape, him being like eating, the way his eating habits are, the way he drinks, his conditioning. They made comments about that. Here's the thing, right? Do you guys remember when Klay Thompson signed with the Dallas Mavericks? And I said, this is not a fit. This does not work. This is illogical. This does not make sense. And I was very adamant by saying, yeah, I mean, I get it. Klay's a decent player, but this is not a fit. This is a fit. AD is a perfect fit for what Kyrie and Klay are doing for this year. I'll tell you right now, I think right now, currently constructed, the Dallas Mavericks are better than the Los Angeles Lakers. Mm-hmm. I believe that. I also believe that they could make another trade. They could bring in Kevin Durant, and it could be Kyrie and KD and AD, and then play a little couple wings around them and see how things work. But with that being said, it's like Rob Pelinka and the Los Angeles Lakers just cashed in their get out of jail free card. That team was poised to suck for the next 5 years. They had nothing. They got no draft picks. LeBron's aging. AD's aging. They got a bunch of white guys that don't play defense that can shoot the lights out, and Austin Reeves and Dalton Connect. But they had nothing. And now what they did is, and which is hilarious to me, is they went from having
doesn't play defense.
Correct. They went from having one of the worst defenses in the league that was kind of fixed by having a great rim protector in Anthony Davis to having the worst defense in the league. That team stinks defensively. If they don't move LeBron James like yesterday, today, tomorrow, I'll be shocked. And I know they said we're not moving LeBron, and I understand what you'd have to do to move a player of the caliber of LeBron James and the power he has in the organization. But it doesn't fit. It's a terrible fit. It's awful. What is your starting lineup? Austin Reeves, Luka Doncic, Dalton Connect, LeBron James, and who at center? Who are they going to start?
That's not your roster, but
what do you mean that's not the roster?
I mean, that's not your lineup. But
okay, what's their lineup? That's what I'm asking you.
I mean, you go Luka at the 1, you go Reeves at the 2, you go LeBron, Rui as your 3-4, however you want to slice them, and then you got Jackson Hayes. I mean, obviously they have to make a move
you put Rui in for Dalton Connect. That's fine.
Rui's been their starting power forward all season.
I understand that, but my point being is you have one player that plays defense. Jackson Hayes is a half a defender. Like I don't know.
You also have 2 of the best wing defenders in the entire league on your bench, in Vanderbilt and Dorian Finney-Smith. So, like, I don't think defense is going to be necessarily a problem for them. They've been top 10 in defense all year. Defense is going to
be an issue with a guy like LeBron who plays selective defense, Dalton Connect who plays no defense, Austin Reeves who plays no defense, Luka Doncic who plays no defense. You don't think defense is going to be an issue for a team like that?
Again, if you let me finish, I would have got there. But I think when you can go and put out, again, Jared Vanderbilt is, I mean, pound for pound, those are 2 top 10 wings, like defensive wings in the league. Jared Vanderbilt and Dorian Finney-Smith.
Top 10 defensive wings.
Defensive wings, for sure. So, I mean, obviously you're not going to start those guys or things like that, but Vandy could play defend 1 through 4. And if you put him out there with Finney Smith, who's can shoot the ball and he obviously can defend there, the Lakers need to get a center. I mean, that's going to be the big thing there. The Mavs, you get away with hiding Luka on people. I mean, look in the West. Like you can hide Luka.
We said this last year, man.
They got to the finals. We said it last year. They got to the finals.
And he got obliterated in the finals because they couldn't hide him anymore.
Against
they
Boston,
went at him.
You're right. Against Boston, you couldn't hide him
Who,
against Boston. They have
who you play this year?
6 Hall of Famers.
You're gonna play Boston or Cleveland this year, probably, right? And they're gonna go right at him. It doesn't matter because LA's not getting the finals, but it's
Oklahoma City. They cannot hide him versus Oklahoma City.
No.
Luka can't guard Alex Caruso.
No,
he doesn't.
Luka's a traffic cone, bro.
He's aware, but what is?
He is. Okay. Listen, bro, it's not trashing him. He's a generational player. Like
the Mavs beat the
he's
Thunder
amazing.
Last year. Luka didn't get lit up.
They're all rookies, dude. It's their first year. Like
so
again,
now
we've seen this all the time. All right, so if you run it back this year, who do you think's winning that series?
Mavs over the Thunder, like Mavs Thunder.
Yeah,
with Luka still on the Mavs.
Yes,
I'm taking the Mavs.
Okay, I think the Thunder walk through them this year.
I don't think it's close.
I don't either. And we're also forgetting that, like I don't want to take anything away from the run, but like they went on a hot run. Like that's not like we're not talking about Luka in the finals every year. Like they got hot at the right time. They went on a run. Yeah. Not to take anything away from that, but that wasn't their normal play either. Like
I've seen the Mavs in the Western Conference Finals before. They had to face the Suns when they had Book and KD and them. They found a way to have Luka hitting on defense. I get it. The guy stinks on defense. Like I'm not defending him there.
He's almost as bad as Steve Nash.
But to act like you can't hide him somewhere is ridiculous. Like this is NBA basketball that we're talking about. Acting like there's 5 stars that can put the ball in the basket is ridiculous.
Not just hiding him, Cottrell. You have to hide him, and you have to hide Austin Reeves.
Austin Reeves is not a good defender, but he's going to at least give you effort.
Well, I mean, LeBron doesn't give effort. You kind of have to hide him.
You'll get effort. You'll get effort in the playoffs from LeBron.
You'll get half effort from LeBron. Effort on plays he thinks he can make a play on. He does not. You're not going to get the hustle plays from LeBron. He's 40.
Yeah, I mean,
I get all that. Listen, I agree with Gene. Like I think everybody like, oh, LeBron and Luka are going to score 30 a night now, and that's that's fine. But like to say you don't have an absolute defensive nightmare of an issue on the other side of the court for the Lakers that's crazy because you do. Like
I just think they need to blow up the team, like the base of the team, the Lakers, and build around Luka. I love that they got themselves.
Well, I mean that's kind of what they've given themselves the opportunity to do. Like I said, sure. you went from and LeBron's earned this. You went from LeBron saying he doesn't want to do it anymore, and then having to rebuild after that versus you now have the guy that you're going to rebuild around. LeBron still, I mean, I hate to even say this because he becomes a great complementary piece. That's not really what he is, though.
Yeah, that's what he is.
I mean, yes and no. But again, my bigger issue too is offensively. Like you're talking about 2 ball dominant guys. Like
there we go with this. There we go with this again.
Oh my God! All right. I mean, show me footage of Luka running around screens like Steph does, and
What do you mean? Here we go with this again. Hold on. I really want to hear that. What do you mean? Here we go with this.
Because I just keep hearing.
LeBron James can play off of each other well.
Absolutely. And here's the reason why. I remember like we had this conversation 3 years ago on the show when we had Kyrie and Luka together, and you're like, it'll never work. I'm like, guys, it's gonna work out just fine. Like they're gonna play well together. The thing is that with Luka, LeBron has been literally looking to not have the ball in his hands as much. That's why Austin Reeves has been having the season. He's having the best season of his career because he's been running the point for the Lakers. LeBron's having the lowest usage of a year, like since his first 2 years in the league. LeBron wants to play off the ball. Like that's literally what he's looking to do. And you want to talk about like him, like not trying hard defensively, things like that. That's fine. But now he gets to literally sit back and say, hey, Luka, we need to score 5 points here. I need a couple plays off here. I go stand in the corner. You do your thing. With the Lakers before, you could toss it into AD and like maybe he'll give you some post ups and here and there, but he wasn't the guy that can go take over a game. With Luka, you can literally have him just go 1-on-5, doesn't matter. Go get us some points. And that's what the Lakers have been desperately missing. And as far as like blowing it up, doesn't make sense to blow it up because LeBron is going to eventually retire anyway. Once LeBron retires, you have 2 max contract slots available for you at the ready. So why blow it up? You have a whole bunch of rotational pieces already. So why blow it up
right now? Why not trade the Golden State right now?
Because then you're saying that, hey, we already know we're not doing anything for the next 3 years. If you trade LeBron right now, you're not doing anything for the next 3 years.
I don't agree with that. If they get
you'd have 2 max spots next year then.
If they trade it, I'm just
saying. You have to move money over. Like it's not like you're trading LeBron for cash.
Hear me out.
I get it, but you're still getting it off the books.
But you have to bring money back as well. If they trade Draymond, like that's not you can't have 2 maxes when you're bringing back in $30 or $40 million. They're not bringing in $45 million of expired contracts. Like that's not going to work.
I understand that, but you're still speeding it up a year. If he plays for 2 more years, that team's not going to be any better with a 42 and a 43-year-old LeBron the next 2 years.
Why don't they go out there and go, give me Andrew Wiggins, Jonathan Kuminga, and Brandon Podzinski, and they put that around Luka for
what
LeBron.
Does that do?
It builds a foundation of players that could play. That are athletic, that could play the wing, that could play defense. Andrew Wiggins can play defense, bro. Like Jonathan Kuminga could play defense. Like you put those guys around Luka, and Luka can have the ball, and these are off-ball players, and they fit what he's trying to do. You'll still have Rui, you'll still have Austin Reeves that can help on shots. You'll still have your 3-point shooters and Dalton Connect. Let me ask you a question real quick. If they made that trade right now, it was Kuminga, Wiggins, and Brandon Podzinski for LeBron James. Are the Lakers better or worse tomorrow?
Worse.
I think they're better.
How in the hell are the Lakers better with Brandon? Bro, all right. Just for your own argument's sake here, look at where the Warriors are at right now. With all those guys, they're in prominent roles. Look at where the Warriors stand right now.
They're not really in prominent roles, but okay.
Why aren't they in prominent roles? Brandon Pods is going to be is their starting 2. Kuminga and Wiggins have basically been starters for him. Like, how aren't they in prominent roles?
Because Luka is a point guard that will be able to ball dominate it's different than Steph. The way Steph is running.
Draymond's also there. Like Draymond also runs the ball. Like
I just feel like the Lakers would be built for more success going forward, getting athletic wings around. Look, we can't.
They have them already. Like literally, you're talking about Wiggins and Kuminga. They got Vandy and Finney Smith. Like it's obviously Kuminga and Wiggins are better, but
Kuminga are not Finney Smith and Jarrett Vanderbilt.
Bro, I don't know who you like. This isn't 2020 Andrew Wiggins. Like this isn't Jonathan Kuminga's not who Amen Thompson is like actually on the Rockets. Like,
you stole that from N1. I like that
because I said it in the comments. If you go back and watch, I was the one who said it, so I can say it again.
All right. Other quick NBA news to go over. The trade deadline's tomorrow. We're going to talk a little bit more about it next week. But other quick news to go over is the Bucks traded Chris Middleton for Kyle Kuzma. The Kings acquired Valanciunas from the Wizards. And KD said he has zero interest in a Warriors reunion. Your thoughts on the rest of the trade deadline? Before we get into the De'Aaron Fox trade, before we get into that conversation, I just want to touch on the little nickels, the little nickel dimes, the pennies that happened around the league.
I mean, I believe KD might not want to go to Golden State, but I don't think that's where everybody thinks he's going. I don't know if anything changed, but it looks like he's getting scratched tonight. So they got to be relatively close to doing something. And his name popped up out of nowhere pretty quick once all this happened. So I I don't think KD wants to stay in Phoenix either. So, I mean, that's that team. I mean, I guess you can make the argument they're all going to flip a switch and be great in the playoffs. But, I mean, I don't think that team is much closer to winning a championship than most of these other teams. I think the Middleton one is, I guess, interesting.
Puzzling.
I mean, I don't. It's probably a better word for it, to be honest. I don't know. I guess you're saying younger, whatever. But I mean, Kuzma's not having a great year. He's shooting like 28% from three or something like that. I don't know what Milwaukee thinks that does for them. Chris Middleton's probably hating life now going to Washington, but I don't know. I do think something big is going to happen by tomorrow, so it'll suck for us because it'll be about a week old by the time we get back to it. But I think some big stuff's going to go down tomorrow.
Control.
Chris Middleton stinks. It's a great move for the Bucks. You go get Kyle Kuzma, you get younger on the wings, you get more athleticism there, and you get a guy who's gonna shoot better than what Chris Middleton does. Like, I get it. Kyle Kuzma is looking awful right now because he's a volume shooter in Washington. Like, he's chucking up 20 shots a game there because they have nothing there. I think for Milwaukee, you had to find a way to get out from underneath Chris Middleton. Chris Middleton is a guy that adds nothing to you. Like, before, it was like, all right, cool. He can go be our second scorer. You can score. He can score. He can defend. Like, he can be great for you. He is not that anymore. The injuries have. He was once a prominent, like, Robin kind of guy, but since all the injuries that he's had, he's come down way back to earth. Kyle Kuzma for them makes a ton of sense.
Tom, I'll get to this in a second. I said, I'm guessing the Sixers are doing nothing. You know what the Sixers are doing? And I just realized this. In my head, I'm watching the Caleb Martin trade. And then I see the KJ Martin trade. And I'm like, are they opening cap room to make a big move? Oh, Paul George might be on the move. And then it hit me. It hit me. That cheap bastard that owns the Commanders and the 76ers figured out a way to get under the luxury tax by the trade deadline. That's exactly what he did. It was nothing is going to happen. That's all they're going to do. They're trying to get under the luxury tax. That's all they wanted to do. They gave away Caleb Martin to get under the luxury tax. They gave away KJ Martin with 2 first-round draft picks to get under the luxury tax. That's all they did. And it sucks. And I'll say this, and I don't want to park too much on the 76ers because they don't deserve my attention. They don't. But you know what sucks? Tyrese Maxey is having the best year of his career. He's not going to be at the All-Star game. And guess what? You are going to watch another year wasted of Tyrese Maxey. Joel Embiid's contract becomes less and less tradable. Paul George gets another year older, and the 76ers are in full destruction mode. You know what the most fun thing about the 76ers was watching them play the last 2 weeks. Without George, without Embiid. I think they were 5-2 in their last 7. And it was fun watching those young kids run up and down the court, play hard defense, be coached. Yabusele, Tyrese Maxey, KJ Martin, watching these kids get in every day and play hard. Kelly Oubre, he's not a kid, but the way he's playing, it drives me nuts that you're going to waste a superstar like Tyrese Maxey. Get him out of here. Get everybody out of here. You got to get out of here and give the team to Maxey. I'm done. I'm finished. Now, all that being said, you get that whole team healthy come playoffs. They're scary out. They're not who you want to see in the first round. But all they did was get under the luxury tax. Josh Harris is a scumbag. That's all they did.
I mean, just bringing that team up. I mean, I think it'll be interesting to see if Miami's got to find a way to get rid of Jimmy Butler. So it'll be interesting to see. Obviously, I don't think Pat Riley would want to trade him somewhere that he ultimately wants to go. But at the same time, like, if the Sixers do want to get out of the Paul George business and money wise, like that'd make a ton of sense there, then maybe that's something that we see happen tomorrow. But I don't know how you guys would feel getting Jimmy back. It feels like at one point it was like we need to do whatever we can to do it, and now like I feel like that bridge may have been burned at this point, just with everything Jimmy's done there. But I mean, that's one move that I see that could potentially happen, especially hearing all the stuff about Bradley Beal not being accepted in Miami, ultimately making the trade for Jimmy to get to Phoenix.
I guess we'll see. There's one more trade we got to talk about, and I kind of want to talk about it before we get into football because the rest of the show is going to be the Super Bowl. De'Aaron Fox was traded to the San Antonio Spurs. I love this move for San Antonio. You pair a young superstar guard with Wemby, and that Spurs team is headed in the right direction. They're doing everything, in my opinion, the right way. Cottrell, do you not see it the same way? Him, Stephon Castle, Devin Vassell, Victor, SoCam. I like what this team's doing.
Oh, for sure. I mean, and this is how you get out of a rebuild fast. You draft the generational superstar, and then you find somebody quickly to pair him with. You have the young talent there. Like San Antonio's done a great job, and the best part about the deal with the Kings is that they didn't have to give up any of the young talent. Like all the guys you just mentioned, you have all of them. You still have Keldon Johnson. You got Malachi Branham still. Like you have a ton of young talent who now as well, you also still have space for a potential third max contract slot there as well. And again, I think players are going to line up to try and play with Wemby. And I think De'Aaron Fox was really just kind of the first domino to fall there. So I absolutely love what the Spurs are doing. They put themselves in a position where they can potentially, make a little bit of noise this year. No championship aspirations there, but within the next 2 years, I mean, they could potentially be in a spot to have a 6 to 8 year window just with how the team's already built.
Shall we?
No, I agree. I mean, I think it was very evident that De'Aaron and Fox and the Kings were just not on the same page. We're not going to be on the same page going forward. I think, firing the coach, I think, almost kind of put the final nail in that coffin for him. He's got to be excited going to San Antonio to play with Wemby. Like Cottrell said, this is one of those things where, you're not really even using the word rebuild anymore. Now it's how can we get all these young kids better and then really start competing. And that whole timeline has sped up dramatically with adding De'Aaron Fox. So I think it's a great trade for San Antonio. It's weird, it's weird how much a difference 12 months makes. I mean, Sacramento last year was the team that was kind of under the radar and made a couple moves. And, we were all like, they're going to be really tough out. And, it's kind of cool to see them going the right way. And now, here we are halfway through this season and they fired their coach and traded their best player. It's kind of wild.
Gentlemen, it's time. It's time. 40 minutes of basketball. It was plenty. It's good conversation. Talked about one of the biggest trades that happened in NBA history. It's time. Guys, I got the shirt already. I got it. Grease the poles, baby. Grease the poles.
Before we start greasing poles, though, are we going to talk the trade news? I mean, we got trivia coming up right now. I mean, we still got like 20 minutes or so before trivia, but I just want to know where are we going? Where is the train stopping at?
Oh, you talking about Myles Garrett
and Cooper Kupp? I mean, we got there's
after.
Okay, fair enough.
Super Bowl time. I can't hold it back anymore. I can't.
Look, I just wanted to know.
It's like I wanted to get everybody here.
I want to know what stop we were getting off at. That's all.
I wanted to get everybody here. I wanted everybody in the chat. I wanted CJ Angelo in the chat. I wanted Eric Roseman in the chat. I wanted Mo Better. I wanted Tom Gallo. I wanted Justin Louder. And I'm going to get louder. I wanted everybody here. I wanted Sean Sormalik in the chat. That's what I wanted. I wanted you guys. I wanted you guys all here because Super Bowl Sunday is upon us. And whether you're going to a Super Bowl party, whether you're down in New Orleans, whether you're watching it at a buddy's house or whether you're watching it at your house like me, I will not be going to a Super Bowl party. I will having a couple people over my house to watch the Super Bowl because I am an absolute madman. I'm a crazy person. I'm a crazy person when I watch Eagles football. But CJ put something that I thought was very interesting that got taken. I listen, if I was worried about the refs before, I don't think I'm worried about them anymore. I don't think I'm worried about them anymore. Super Bowl media has been so talking about the refs in the situation where the Chiefs are getting A, B, and C, and they're getting all these good, fortunate calls that Roger Goodell and the head of officiating had to make a public statement saying that's ridiculous. We're not favoring the Chiefs. I love that. How about the guy that walked up to Travis Kelce and asked him a question and goes, did you guys hear the question? He goes, hey, Travis, what do you love more, Taylor Swift or phantom 15-yard penalties for roughing the quarterback? The guy that walked up to Patrick Mahomes and asked him if he thanked all the people that helped him win his Super Bowls. Who's his favorite official? Roger Goodell had to speak to this. You better believe that the entire world watching this football game, those officials will not want to miss anything. They will not want to miss anything. Before we get into breaking down the game, your thoughts on this week, on Media Week, the official talk, the conversations about the referees.
I think it's interesting. I think it's interesting for all the reasons you said. I think it's become such a topic that's on the forefront of, I mean, have it be media day, have it be, ESPN, Fox, like it's being talked everywhere because it's become such a glaring issue in Kansas City games. And I think, I don't want to say they were trying to save face, but trying to get ahead of it. I think it's a small first kind of victory for the Eagles before they even step on the field. I really do. I think with all that being said, you got to be damn sure you're going to call what you're going to call now. Like the fact that it's got that much attention, they haven't played yet, with all the the circumstances and all the I guess you could say controversial calls that he's gotten. Patrick Mahomes or the Chiefs in general have in the run up on this playoffs and in the past playoff years. I think it's crazy. I think it's a small little victory for the Eagles. I think it'll make the refs hold the flag for that much more of a split second to make sure they saw what they think they saw. Because I will tell you, with it already being put in the forefront, with Roger Goodell having to release a statement, they do not want to see this game come down to something like that now. That is like worst case scenario. And if they get it wrong, it's going to be really hard for everybody NFL side-wise to really defend it.
Okay. Cottrell, your thoughts on the officiating?
I mean, look, I've been with you guys. We've all agreed that the Chiefs have had crazy calls really the entire season. Like you talk about the playoffs, but I mean, I go back to the Raiders game where it looked like it was about to be a false start, and next thing I know, the play happened and Chiefs have the ball and the game's over. Like there's so many calls throughout the regular season.
The Bengals, the Falcons. I named three off the top of my head.
Exactly. Like there's so many throughout the regular season that I look at. But here's the thing, though. I think it's been in our face for 18 weeks or 19 weeks at this point already. And now they're finally coming out and saying something. Like I think you guys can take that as a victory, but I just think that they said it so that they can say that they said it. Like, hey, ultimately, we're not favoring the Chiefs. Like it's crazy that you guys are even thinking that. I think we're going to see what we've seen all playoffs. Like the calls are going to still be the exact same. If there's any questionable roughing the passer penalty, I think you're going to get it called the exact same way it's been called the last 19 weeks of the year. I think the NFL basically came out and said that to just say, hey, we put out a statement. We know that we're not doing it. People are going to complain. People are going to go on social media. They're going to find the videos of the game, like when bad calls happen. Like, I don't think anything changes there. I think that was purely a NFL just putting out a blanket statement. I don't think it's necessarily a win for the Eagles, and I don't think it's a detriment to the Chiefs or even a positive for the Chiefs. I just think we're going to see the exact same kind of games being called because there's nothing like in my mind that's going to tell me otherwise. Like I already know we're going to at some point probably talk about what happened the last time the Chiefs and the Eagles met in the Super Bowl.
Oh, 100%. I was leading right into that. And it's listed now. If you Google worst calls in Super Bowl history, it is listed as a top 5 worst call in Super Bowl history was James Bradbury's hold. By the way, need I remind you, it was the only defensive holding call in the entire Super Bowl. The entire game. Not one play was more egregious than that play. None. No other play in the whole game deserved defensive holding, but that one was the one. And Mahomes pointing at it makes me still sick to my stomach. The fact that, nope, there's a flag over there. That's why I throw it. Nope. And the worst part is this, right? I don't want to be that guy because I don't know if Jalen Hurts takes the Eagles down to win the game, if they score a touchdown, or if they get a field goal, or if it goes to overtime. But you know what? One thing I do know is we didn't get the opportunity to see it. And that sucks. That's not right. We didn't get the opportunity to see it. CJ says Jalen Carter can play the way he's played, contain his emotions. Best believe the Chiefs will be trying to get to goat him. I get it. I got a stat for both you guys. And I want to ask you, what stat do you feel like is more relevant? Okay? One is an Eagle stat trend. One is a Chiefs stat trend. I want you to tell me which one you think more of. Is that cool?
Fine with me.
All right. Vic Fangio's career against Patrick Mahomes. He is 0-8 as a head coach in Denver, as a defensive play caller in Miami. He has never had a defense as talented as this one, but he is 0-8 against Patrick Mahomes, allowing the Chiefs to score 28 points per game against his defense. That's one stat. That's stat one. 0-8. It's got to be broken, right? Maybe someday. This is the second one. The Philadelphia Eagles are 5-0 on artificial turf this year, allowing an NFL low 11.6 per game. 11.6 points per game. That is 6 points less than the second best team in football. Their defense plays great on carpet. That's basically what it's telling you. That when you could play fast, that defense has speed on all 3 levels. What stat is more relevant?
It's hard for me to say. It's so hard for me to say because honestly, I think both are so out of context. And I say that because like I think Fangio, when he was in Denver, like I don't think his teams could compete with those Chiefs teams then. Like even in, while he was with Miami, like I don't think the Miami defense had what it took to compete with Patrick Mahomes in that Chiefs offense. But on the flip side of that, I also would imagine that 2 of these games have to be the Cowboys, and the Cowboys were dumpster fire this year. So that means there's 3 more.
One game versus the Cowboys.
Just one. Yeah, one
game versus the Cowboys. 1 game versus the Giants. 1 game versus the New Orleans Saints.
So, like, I think those aren't teams on the same caliber, obviously, as what the Chiefs are. And against those teams, you kind of expect the defense to have those kinds of performances. So, like, I think both stats are very interesting, and you have to run with them one way. I probably lean the side, like, it's more of an Eagles advantage just because, like, those pass rushers, especially the ones who were there the first Super Bowl, like they know they can pin their ears back and not have to worry about slipping, and they really know what to expect because like those fields are ultimately built for speed, for they want fast twitch, they want the power, they want everything on those fields there. So ultimately, I think that probably leans to be more relevant for me. But again, knowing who the teams were, I think that matters. And then for Fangio, this defense is way different than any team he's coached in the past.
I believe it was Saints, Giants, Bengals, Cowboys, and Rams were the 5 teams. And the Saints were 2-0, who led the league in offense when they played them. So I remember we were talking about that after week 2. Like, they're the best offense in the league. I never forget that comment. Put up like 37 versus Dallas week 2, and everybody thought, it's incredible offense, and they got it all going on. After the Eagles handled them, they did not have it all going on.
Slowed Cincinnati down too. So
17 points to Joe Burrow.
Yep. I think it's the turf stat. And the reason I'll say this is we've seen in the past where the field can factor into the game. The last time we played the Chiefs, there was turf gate, however you want to call it. There was that. It really benefited what Kansas City wanted to do versus what the Eagles wanted to do. So I think the big key for me is like Gene said, they play on turf, they have sure footing. All 3 levels of that defense has speed and they can all move. And I think that's going to be a big part of the game. Obviously, it helps Kansas City and what they want to do as well. But it's one of those stats where it sounds random because you would never think anybody would think of it. But then when you factor into it, and then when you factor in they're 6 points better than everybody else, that's in the NFL, 6 points is a lot. That's a considerable gap. So I think that one is, and the reason I'll take that over the other one, just like Cottrell said, I mean, Fangio, some of those Denver teams were terrible. Like, he wasn't going to beat, I don't care what kind of game he called, he wasn't going to beat Patrick Mahomes anyway. And then in Miami wasn't always great when he was there either. So I think the second one definitely holds more water than the first one does.
I will update you guys on a couple. I don't know whether you should be concerned or not be concerned. But when I looked at the Eagles injury report for the game, and listen.
The one that happened today?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's definitely the one that caught my eye for sure.
You're talking about Jalen Carter?
Yeah, absolutely. And they say it's an illness. So, I think that's one of those things where you just kind of have to gut out. But at the same time, how much can he give? That's going to be my big thing. Because he is a game wrecker. He will ruin your game plan.
He was a limited participant, so it wasn't a non-participant today. Him, Kenny Gainwell is still in the protocol, is almost out of it. Brandon Graham, obviously a limited participant, and Devontae Smith with the hamstring. The other limited participants, I just don't.
You're fine with.
Yeah.
You're fine.
Jalen Carter being a limited participant with an illness. I don't know how sick he is. I know you're going to hydrate him. I understand he's going to gut it out. I'm not saying Jalen Carter's not going to play in the Super Bowl. I also understand it's Wednesday and they're the best medical in the world. They can give him any medicine he wants from Wednesday to Saturday to have him feeling good on Super Bowl Sunday.
He'll be 100% Sunday.
Absolutely not. 100% is crazy.
Bro, if he was that sick, he wouldn't be around the team. You're forgetting that part too. If he was at practice today and he was around people,
it's the Super Bowl,
and doesn't matter. They don't want anything spreading. That's how you get destroyed in the Super Bowl if somebody's that sick and it spreads through your team.
But you can be sick and not be contagious. That's very possible.
Okay, but you're not risking that either. I'm saying if he's that sick and they don't know, he's not around the team today. He'll have IVs. He'll have bags of antibiotics, dude. He will be 100% Sunday. He will be fine.
He's say that they don't know. Like Gene just said, you guys have a great medical staff. You can literally not he could have mono for all we know and not be contagious and still be around the team because he's not contagious and be feeling like shit all week. That's where I'm coming from. You talk about him around the team, that really doesn't matter to me because this is media week. He could be way past his contagious point. So saying for sure he's going to be 100, that's wild.
I don't think it is. I think he'll be fine Sunday. If it's something that he was even run down today, there's no reason for him to be at practice on Wednesday. He didn't have to do anything today. Then they would have kept him home and gave him fluids and done stuff off the field. He wouldn't have been on the field today. He'll be.
It's the Super Bowl. I would be at practice.
Okay, so you'd be even more cautious. And with a guy like Jalen Carter, you'd be like, you know what? We'll give you another day's rest to make sure you're good for Sunday if it's that bad. To your own point, if he's coming out at the end of it, then he's going to be feeling better anyway. He's also a 24-year-old professional athlete. Like, his body's a little bit different than all of ours. He's going to get fluids and a bunch of medicine. He'll get it all night long. He'll get it all morning long. He'll get around-the-clock care. He will be fine for Sunday.
Shout, I love your confidence, brother. Because I'm going to make something very bold when I give my score prediction and like the way I think the game could go. I obviously have my like confident Eagles answer, but like I'll tell you right now, my confident Eagles answer is my real football answer. Like when I watch these two teams play football and the way they match up, that's my confident football answer. But the Eagle fan in me that's watched this team for my entire life that wants this so bad. I'm not saying I want it more than A.J. Brown or more than Jalen Carter or more than Jalen Hurts, but I'm telling you right now, it's going to ruin not a day, not a week. It'll ruin a month of my life if this team does not win Sunday. I don't know how much you guys realize how much of a psycho madman I am. And if you don't know, ask Chase, as I went on an absolute rant on people in the chat. I got thrown out of a group chat last year because I was livid after that Super Bowl. Livid. I mean, I was to the point where a lot of stuff I said shouldn't be put on social media. I'm just telling you the truth. That's where I was at. I was fired up. I was very upset. Now, guys, before we get into score predictions and then after trivia, we're going to have trivia. We'll have a quick segment here. We'll get into trivia. Then we'll get into score predictions of what we think is going to happen in the game. Let's talk about the Kansas City Chiefs. And then we'll actually obviously give our prop bets, things to look out for. Let's talk about the Kansas City Chiefs. The Kansas City Chiefs, it seems like these guys know how to win and know how to turn it on the exact moment they need to. And here's the part that scares me, right? That Chiefs team that played Carolina, give me them Sunday. That Chiefs team that played at Atlanta, give me them Sunday. That Chiefs team that played at Buffalo, I don't know if I want to play them. And it's funny because I watched them play Houston, and when they were playing Houston, Houston looked like the better football team. And, a missed kick by Fairbairn, a couple really bad calls, and all of a sudden the Chiefs won that game and they pulled away. That Chiefs team versus Buffalo, Spagnuolo is what scares me the most, because the way the Eagles lose this football game, and I'll be very clear here. If anybody's an Eagles fan listening, this is how the Eagles lose this football game. Spags puts Kellen Moore in a blender, and I'm telling you right now it can happen. Jalen Hurts is 34th out of 34 quarterbacks throwing under pressure. Now, the good news is we have one of the best offensive lines in football. The bad news is you never know where that Spags blitz is coming from. It can come from anywhere. And I don't know if I trust Jalen Hurts. I listen to Tom. By the way, let me just give Tom Brady some credit. That man has progressed so much from week 2 to now in calling football games. He's the best in the business already. It's insane.
Oh,
he is.
Better than Greg Olsen.
He's better than Greg Olsen.
Oh, stop it.
I'm telling you. And I watched him give an interview talking about Spagnuolo's defense and what they did the first time they played him, when the Giants beat him in the Super Bowl, versus when he played the Kansas City Chiefs and the blitzes they threw at him when he played for Tampa. He said even that far into his career, the blitz schemes that they threw at him in New York, he just didn't fully understand. He said it took me to my later ages to have a deep, deep understanding of blitzes. And when something looked funny, I knew how to get the ball. I knew where I had to go with the ball. He said the Eagles are a better football team. But to look out for the way Steve Spagnuolo calls defenses, because Jalen Hurts is not ready to read that blitz. That is the fear of the Philadelphia Eagles. Blitzes being called that we do not pick up, that come up the A-gap, that come off the corner, negative yards plays, because the Eagles are not good in 2nd and 16 or 3rd and 17. They're not good there. The Eagles need to be in 2nd and 6. They need to be 3rd and 3. That's where they need to be at. How worried are you of Steve Spagnuolo's defense lining up against Philadelphia, Shally? Cottrell, tell us how worried you'd be if you were the Philadelphia Eagles at Steve Spagnuolo's defense. Shall I go first?
I don't know if I would say worried. I mean, maybe concerned. I mean, listen, you're also forgetting. I mean, Jalen saw this exact team a couple years ago, and saw a bunch of stuff that he probably even back then. I think we would all hope that he's matured and progressed since then. And he had a hell of a football game. Argued he outplayed Mahomes for most of that game. Obviously had the fumble and the one bad interception, but
you can throw a pick.
Yeah, I know he didn't. No, he didn't. And he ran the ball well.
Went for a touchdown. That's what it was.
I absolutely 100% believe that Spags will have something, a couple plays up his sleeve that he will hold for crucial parts in the game. That's something they haven't run this year, or nobody's seen, or it's not on film. But to your point, they got to communicate, and you have to rely on an offensive line. That's one of the reasons why we're here. He's got to communicate with the offensive line. You saw later in the year him switching plays and switching protections, a lot of things that we're not used to seeing him do, and he's starting to do it now. And I will say this, you have to give him credit. This is the most confident he's ever played right now, this stretch that he's in right now. I don't think that's going to be shook on Sunday. I don't. I think having Saquon next to him in that backfield has just been absolutely immense to know that he can play with that chip on his shoulder and realize that they can win football games, and he doesn't have to get to that magical 300 number that everybody falls in love with for quarterbacks, for yardage, and all that stuff. And I think, again, the last 4 or 5 weeks you've seen a different Jalen Hurts. I don't think a different Jalen Hurts than that guy is going to show up on Sunday. Again, I think it's always concerning when you have going up against a guy like Spags, because he does bring exotic stuff. But you can't have a million of them. You might have a couple that aren't on film that he'll save, like I said, for big spots in the game. And you just got to hope you either get through those or they're not catastrophic plays. And if you do that, I think with the success they've had before, I think if Kellen Moore can put Jalen in good spots and like you said, keep the offense not necessarily ahead of the sticks, but again, I don't think any NFL offense wants to be 2nd and 16, but keep us out of those situations a lot. Then I think you're gonna be okay.
I'll tell you right now, CJ, that's impossible. I'll tell you right now, you're 100% right. If Hurts doesn't turn the ball over or take sacks, the Eagles win the football game. But
I'll say
go into that football game and say he's not going to turn the ball over, he's not going to take sacks, I guarantee he gets sacked twice. The easiest bet you can bring is he gets sacked twice.
I think as long as he gets sacked and doesn't fumble the ball, then I think we're good.
Cottrell, Spags.
So for me, I think this is the wrong side of the ball to be worried about. And I say that because I think, to Bill's point, he saw a Spags defense already, and he was fine that game. I get it. Things are going to change. I also think Spags is going to come with a different game plan. Like, I think back then, Spags probably went into that game like, hey, if Jalen Hurts beats us with his arm, so be it. And they got burned by it. I think in this game, you're going to have kind of a similar game plan, especially with Saquon being there. I do think they're going to probably try and sell out to stop the run, just because you can't have Saquon Barkley be the one that ultimately kills you there. But with that said, I just think with the weapons that are literally everywhere, I think it's really tough for that Eagles offense to not have success. I say I'd be more worried about the other side, because similar to the last Super Bowl, I think if this is a game where it gets into the 30s, like both teams have 30, like I think that's when you run into the danger zone.
I can guarantee you something right now. I've studied spreads. I've studied money. I've studied Vegas constantly. There's one guarantee I can give you about the Super Bowl. It will go under the total. It will not.
Where's the total at?
48.5.
I guarantee you. I have it right there. So
I guarantee you will go under the total.
I'm just saying, I think ultimately that's the ball game that the Eagles don't want to get in. And say what you want about Spags. He's a great defensive coordinator, and he is going to throw stuff at Jalen in spots that's going to confuse him and definitely have him take some bad sacks there. But again, I think the important thing is like making sure that this isn't a shootout. Like, because even if Jalen has success on offense, I don't want to say you slow the game down, but like you also don't want to just go possession for possession with the Chiefs. So I think that's the one thing that I think is like the biggest factor in the game. The Eagles defense has to shut down, not even shut down, but slow down the Chiefs offense.
Okay. Let's get into trivia. We'll talk about it a little bit. Let's get into trivia. We'll give props afterwards. We'll give our predictions on the game. Let's take a little bit of a break. Let's let my anxiety calm down just a shade as I get in trivia. All right, comments off.
All right, gents. So, I really thought about going a couple different places here, but I decided to go to a topic that we really haven't covered that much of. Going to college basketball. We're going to the hardwood. We're approaching the March Madness time here, so I wanted to go with the all-time NCAA wins leaders as of February 1st of this year. These are college programs, not like individual people, but college programs in college basketball, which are the top 10 teams with the most wins there.
Okay. I mean, I think we're going to rattle off a bunch of these really fast.
Agreed. I think you guys probably go 6 straight.
I was going to say probably 6 or 7, and then there's probably shit in here that we wouldn't think of.
And again, this is as of February 1st this year.
I love that you say that because that makes me feel like it's something really close.
It's not really like nothing too crazy close, but I will say from the start of this season to like right now, you've had like 1 or 2 movements, teams that were already in the top 10, but you just had a little bit of movement there. That's all.
All right. I'll go North Carolina.
North Carolina is number 3 with 2,385 wins.
I'm going to go with UCLA.
UCLA is number 5 with 2,017 wins.
Okay.
I will go Kansas.
Kansas is number 2, 2,408.
Give me another blue bud. Give me Kentucky.
Kentucky, number 1, 2,413.
I'll go Duke.
Ah, you scumbag.
Duke, number 4.
Scumbag.
2,318. All right. You got the 5. I knew you guys would get those 5 right away. I think there's one more on here that you guys will get.
Indiana.
Indiana is not in the top 10.
What? How do I get this? Oh, God.
I ain't gonna lie, that was one of my next couple guesses. Shit. Give me
Fudgesicle.
Fudgesicle.
You got 15 seconds here too.
I'll go UConn.
UConn is not in the top 10.
Give me the orange.
Syracuse Orange is number 7, 2,002 wins.
Thank God.
I thought that was going to be the name that you pulled there. I thought you'd go 6 there, but I had faith in you. Got a 3-3 matchup here.
I don't know how Indiana's not in there. All those wins they had, they got to be close. But whatever.
I'll go Arizona.
Arizona is not in the top 10.
Sparty.
Michigan State is not in the top 10.
Trying to think of like college programs that have been good at basketball for a long time. I feel like this is more of a length list.
I'm trying to think teams who used to be good suck now.
I mean, that's fair.
We can't be there. I'll go Louisville.
Louisville is not in the top 10.
Who do I go? What am I missing? Am I missing an obvious one? Is there an obvious one on here?
You can't guess that yet. Being around. You get this wrong, we can get a clue.
I'll go Notre Dame.
Notre Dame is number 8.
Let's go!
73.
I was wearing green. I was looking at myself. That's so bad. So can we get clues now? I don't mind if you help, Shally. I'm up 1. I need help. I don't know what else I can go with. I have no idea where to go. Are you good with clues, Shal?
I'm fine.
Okay. I'm just making sure I don't want to be like.
All right. So the problem. All right. What clue would you guys like? Because okay. I think.
Fair. What do you want, Shal? I want.
That's fine. That's fine.
All right. So let me just make sure.
I have 2 teams in my head right now, and if it's not either one of them, I'm probably in a lot of trouble.
All right.
So let me just. Your head right now.
I have 2 teams in my head.
Okay.
Let me just make sure I get exactly which conferences everybody's in here.
Is that hard?
Perfect. It's not hard, but I don't want to misspeak. That's all. That's the big thing. So got them. You got where do they play?
You don't know where they play. That's an interesting one.
See, the funny thing is, this is leading me to believe that I think my one is right.
Let's see. So we got one for sure is Big Ten school.
Okay.
I
don't know how that wasn't Indiana, but okay.
I know who it is then. Fuck. I gotta be strategic here now.
Let me do this. One is in the AAC, and one's in the Big East.
The AAC?
All right, it's my turn. What is it? 4-3?
Yes.
I literally think I know all 3 of them, but we'll see.
Wait, the AAC?
They are in the American Athletic Conference.
No, I know what AAC means. Okay.
I'm going Purdue.
Purdue is at number 10. They are at 1946.
So the AAC formerly it broke down from the Atlantic 10. Am I correct? There's still the Atlantic 10, but it's the shitty programs. That's Temple. That's got to be Temple. John Chaney.
Temple, number 6.
Okay.
2006 wins.
So who's the other one, Chal?
St. John's.
Really? No way.
St. John's is number 9. 1960 wins. So we can have a tie. We got some tiebreakers here. That's exactly why I didn't give you out any numbers beforehand, because I figured after we did conferences, we'd get there.
Well, okay. I thought you said somebody was right off the list already.
I don't think so.
Yeah. All right.
But again, let me see. Actually, let me see how close a lot of these are, because some of them are probably close to overlapping at this point. But we definitely have number 11 still on the table. Number.
Can I guess again? I'm up then.
12. Yeah, actually, all these schools are going to be in the same ballpark of each other. So I don't know what number we ultimately want to get to for the tiebreaker.
No, that's fine. Do you want to go to 15? So there's 5?
I'm fine.
But I'm up. He got the last one. I'm up. I'm going Indiana again. They got to be top 15.
Indiana is correct. Indiana was right off the list. They were at number 11.
I knew Indiana.
That's what I said. You already said that earlier, so he knew that one.
No, I didn't say Indiana was right off the list. Because I didn't know
thought
where
you
Indiana
did.
was at before I looked at it.
We can go to 15. Is that what you want to do? 3-2?
I don't care, whatever you want
kind of got to move. Why don't we just go until never mind. So how close is Indiana to 10?
I can't see what their exact number is. Before the season started, they were actually in 10th. Purdue just won more basketball games than them this season. Yeah.
Okay.
So Purdue passed them this year.
Correct. The next 5, I'd have to really do some digging because 17 through like 12 through 17 are all in the same area. So I can figure this out quick. We have breaking news, gentlemen.
Somebody got traded.
Breaking news.
Warriors are acquiring Jimmy Butler from the Miami Heat.
For?
I don't have the 4 yet. I just have the alert.
Yikes.
I just got it too. In a blockbuster trade.
Blockbuster.
Now we're all messed up. We got breaking news. We got trivia.
I'm not surprised that happened.
I'm trying to see who he got traded for now.
All right, so we're trying to find something 11 to 20, and that's what we're trying to do here.
I would say so. I'd say first to miss loses.
So I'm up 1. If he misses 1 from 12 to 20, I win. Okay.
Yeah, because we got a sizable gap. We got a sizable gap after that. So
okay. So 12 through 20. First that misses. I got it. Andrew Wiggins, Dennis Schroeder, Kyle Anderson, and a first.
I'm going back to Arizona. They have to be in the top 20.
Arizona's in the top 20. Yes.
Nova's
also in the top 20. Barely, but they're in the top 20.
Oh, you scumbag. Barely.
They're at 19.
I thought Nova was no doubt about it. I almost used them.
They're at 19. That's why I say they slid in there.
The trade is Dennis Schroeder, Kyle Anderson, Andrew Wiggins, and a protected first.
Jesus.
That's low-key a haul for Miami for a team that really had no leverage.
I think it's a terrible trade for Miami.
I think it's a terrible trade for Golden State.
No, it's not. They take a shot at the championship by giving up nothing.
I mean, watch Jimmy get you there, I guess.
Christ. Again, 15 seconds here.
Something for the Big 12's got to be in there.
I mean, I'm just rattling shit off. We got to move.
All right.
I'll go Texas.
Texas is in the top 20 there.
Okay.
I need Gene to miss.
They're all around the same. Big bet. Gonzaga
is the first miss. Bill has a chance to win.
How many teams? They're trying to hold Villanova in my pocket.
Again, for the sake of time here, I'm going to give you the 15 seconds.
I love it.
We're probably not even close. I'll just guess. I'll go with Michigan.
Michigan is a incorrect answer. Back to Eugene.
Sparty again.
Michigan State is not in the top 20, right off the list. Back to you, Bill.
Who else is in the Big Ten? India.
15 seconds.
I will go. I'll say. I'll go. I'll go Illinois.
Illinois is in the top 20. Bill wins the week. We move on.
Let's see what the comments said. UAB, Memphis. I
Who
doubt.
else said UAB? Is that Alex?
Yeah.
No,
I knew it was. He's bro.
I said Gonzaga too. Tom Gallo said Gonzaga.
It's Gonzaga. Gonzaga's got to be close. They won like.
They are close, but by the start of next year, they're gonna probably be in the top 20.
What was the rest of it, real quick?
Washington. You guys said Nova, Arizona. BYU is up there. They're at 17. Western Kentucky is also
Jesus
up there.
Christ.
Wouldn't have got that.
Utah, Texas.
Wouldn't have got that. Texas.
Illinois,
he said Texas though.
Utah, Texas, Illinois, Cincinnati.
Cincinnati. I wouldn't have got that. Then my next guess was Virginia.
That's a good one.
Virginia is at like 40. They were at 17-42 before the start of the year.
I was going back down to like Wake Forest and like Georgia Tech in the ACC.
All right. Well,
back to football.
Yes, sir. Let's give our prop bets, and then we'll give our game predictions, and then we'll talk trades, and then we'll do UFC.
All right. Who's starting here? Are we going one by one? Are we giving them all? What are we doing?
You want to get 4 or 5? I got 3 real ones and 2 fun ones.
I got like 5 that I think all have a legit shot of hitting.
Yeah, I got 4
fun ones,
4 real ones, and some.
I didn't do anything. I didn't do anything crazy this year.
Okay. I have the Gatorade color. I picked that.
You love your Gatorade. How many times have you gotten that right? That's
like
3. Yeah, that's what I thought.
So I think I know what the Gatorade color is going to be this year. I think the Eagles win, and I think it's blue Gatorade. So I'll start with that for fun. Blue Gatorade's going off at plus 650 or plus 700. Where you get it? I think the Eagles win, and you get blue Gatorade. That's where I'm at.
I am a creature of habit here. I see the last 2 years as the Chiefs have been in the Super Bowl. It's been purple. I think they're going to be like, hey, make sure there's purple Gatorade. And I feel like everybody has to like purple Gatorade. So you're going to see purple on the Eagles side as well. I think both sides have the purple Gatorade. And ultimately, 3rd year in a row, you get purple Gatorade as the color.
Purple's the favorite.
I'll go orange.
225 is what I saw.
I'll go orange just to switch it up.
My easiest bet, my best bet, my lock bet, I think this bet is guaranteed to hit, and it's going off at even money, is Jalen Hurts anytime touchdown at minus 110.
I like that. Since that was a real prop there.
Yeah, I have 2 fun ones. I'm gonna go back and forth.
Okay, cool. So this isn't my actual prop, but I have my prop to watch here. Players to record a sack. Nolan Smith at plus 106 and Jalen Carter at plus 18. Whatever way you go there, those are the 2 I'm looking at. Nolan Smith's going to fly off the edge, and Jalen Carter up the middle. The Chiefs have had issues with their interior. They would be the 2 that I think are going to get after the quarterback. I'm not definitively giving you one, but I love those as props to watch.
Okay.
Longest TD scored over under 34.5 yards. Overs minus 112, unders minus 108. I think it goes over. I think somebody pops one in this game. So I'm taking over 34.5 yards.
Okay. Well, I have one that's very similar to that. Saquon's longest run is sitting at 26.5 yards. I'm going over. I feel like that's a really stupid, easy one, but maybe I'm wrong.
We're sticking with the running backs here. I'll go over to the Chiefs side. I got Kareem Hunt under 43.5 rushing yards. Since Isaiah Pacheco has been back, he averages 10 carries a game, and he's averaged less than 4 yards a carry in the regular season alone and in the postseason alone. So, I mean, combine the 2, obviously, they're both going to be less than 4 yards a carry there. Eagles have a pretty good rush defense there. I don't think Kareem gets over the 43.5 yard mark.
I'm going one that I looked at, and I was actually kind of shocked. I think this is an easy one. Longest field goal made over 47.5 yards, minus 102. Under is actually favored slightly at minus 110 still. I'm going over. They are in a dome. They are in perfect conditions. Jake has not been great, but Bucker can kick the ball from 60 in his sleep inside. I think both coaches trust their kickers immensely. I don't think they'll have any problem pulling the trigger for 50 plus. So I'm going over on this prop.
All right. I have the first song being played by Kendrick Lamar, and I think it's going to be Euphoria.
All right. Well, I'm actually glad that you said that because I also have Kendrick Lamar's first song. I got All Right plus 1,300.
Yeah, Euphoria is like plus 600.
If I could name you a Kendrick Lamar song, I would tell you one. No, I'm just kidding.
Not like us. Humble. Be humble. There's a ton of them.
There's more breaking news on the Jimmy thing.
The Warriors agreed to a 2-year, $121 million, $60 million for 2 years, though.
Bro, will be like 38. He's playing 40 games a year. Anyway, both teams with a fourth down conversion in the game. Yes is minus 124. I love that as well.
Easy money.
Yep.
And my last prop, this is my last one, and I love this. It's plus like 300. The first kickoff return.
Touchback.
No, that's minus 300. It's plus 200 that the first kickoff gets returned. No touchback. I'm going no touchback.
Hey,
Give me money, baby.
I like touchback.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie to you. If the Eagles hit the ball first, you can you can kiss that goodbye because Bucker's booting that shit through the back of the end zone.
The Eagles defer. I think the Eagles defer, and I think Jake Elliott pops one up into the corner, right corner.
Now that if it comes down to that, then I can see that. But man, Chiefs somehow get that. Bucker's booting that thing. But I'll go over to the Eagles side here. I got 3 more player props here. I like Jalen Hurts over 36.5 rushing yards. He has 70 yards in the 2022 Super Bowl. And this year, the Eagles are 10-1 in games where Jalen Hurts has over 36 rushing yards. So I think if the Eagles want to win, Spags is going to sell out to stop Saquon Barkley, and that's going to open up a lot of room for Jalen Hurts.
Good, Shelly.
I got 2. How many you got left, Cottrell?
Now I got 2 more.
And you're done.
I got 1 more that I'm gonna give, but I thought we were doing 5. That's why.
Okay, well, I got 2 left, so we go back around.
One's in there. That's the only reason.
2-point conversion attempted by either team minus 110. Love that as well. I think that's a lock.
Okay, and then I think this is my best play. That's an actual play. That's not. I think Jalen Hurts over 197.5 passing yards. I love that. I loved it versus Washington. He was over 191 in the first half. I think that he has to throw the ball. I think Spags is going to make the Philadelphia Eagles throw the football. So I'll go over 197.
And I will just double down on that. I do think they're going to force the Eagles to throw the football. And that's why I have Devonta Smith having over 4.5 receptions. Last Super Bowl, he had 6 catches in it. And Trent McDuffie now playing on the outside, I do think you're going to see from time to time he shadows A.J. Brown because he's the biggest threat there, which means Smitty, slim back, whatever you want to call him, he's going to have some opportunities to get open. So I like his over 4.5 reception number.
Last one I got Saquon to rush for 100 yards and the Eagles win plus 40. I'll be taking it.
All right, gentlemen.
I got 1 more. I'm sorry. Last one. Travis Kelce over 60.5 receiving yards. He's averaging 85.5 yards in Super Bowl games. He had 81 yards in the Super Bowl against the Eagles in 2022. And this postseason, the Eagles are averaging, giving up 8 receptions per game to tight ends. So I think if Travis Kelce gets 8 receptions, then he's going to have over 60.5 yards.
That's kind of a skewed stat in this postseason. Zach Ertz had 14.
He didn't have 14. He had 11.
Okay.
And you also have played 3 games. So
it's fine. I just don't want to believe that. We're 90 minutes in. It's time. I asked one thing, and I don't care how you guys want to do this. I want to go first or last here. Score breakdown, game breakdown, our pick.
I'll go in the middle there because I'll be sandwiched in there. Like I want you guys get your shine and your game, however you guys want to do it.
I'll go first. You pick.
I actually want to go last.
That's fair. That's why I'm not going to be greedy or selfish. All I'd like to do is be first or last.
And I would go in the middle.
Okay, so I'm anxious. I'm nervous. My stomach's in knots. Taking fiber gummies to try to clear out the stomach. Hey, listen, I'm just telling you the truth. That's where I'm at right now. I'm an absolute wreck because I want this game so badly. And I want this game so badly for so many different people. I want to be able to watch this Philadelphia Eagles team win a Super Bowl versus the Kansas City Chiefs. And I want to be able to get my revenge and my retribution for what happened 2 years ago with that ridiculous holding call against James Bradbury. I want Brandon Graham to be able to retire a Super Bowl champion for a second time as a Philadelphia Eagle, making his way back from a bicep tear to play in this game. I want Jalen Hurts to be able to get over that hump and get the respect he deserves at the quarterback position. But the thing I want most is I want Darius Slay to be able to retire or be able to move on after Philadelphia with a Super Bowl. I want that badly for him. He came over here. You can tell he's near the twilight of his career. The Eagles drafted 2 cornerbacks. I want Darius Slay to be able to get that Super Bowl on his resume. I think the Philadelphia Eagles defense absolutely dominates this football game. I don't care how ridiculous that sounds. My gut tells me this Eagles defense will be able to fly around the football. Andy Reid preparation, Pat Mahomes being as good as he is going to get the Kansas City Chiefs points. But I think this looks a lot like the Kansas City Chiefs versus the Tampa Bay Buccaneers Super Bowl. I'll be on record. That's fine. I think this game's a blowout. I think the Philadelphia Eagles win this football game 29-13. I don't think it's rather close coming down the stretch. I think the Philadelphia Eagles do some crazy things defensively. I think they get pressure on Pat. And I think man-to-man on the outside, their defensive players, their corners, their safeties can play stucco defense versus this team. I think the Eagles want it more. I do. I think this Chiefs team's been there, done it. They're exhausted. I think this Eagles team comes into this game hungry, and hungry dogs run faster. I got the Birds in this one, 29-13. It's a weird score. I know there'll be 2-point conversions, missed field goals all over the place. It's okay. Birds win 29-13, and it's not that close.
All right, so it's tough to follow that up there, but see the game going a little bit differently. I'm many things in life. One thing that I am not, or I try my hardest not to be, is a liar. And one thing that I've said, and this goes back at this point 2 or 3 years ago, is that I will not pick against Patrick Mahomes until he loses a playoff game, like another playoff game. I've counted them out time and time again. They had no business winning the Super Bowl last year. Honestly, the way they played all year, they had no business getting to the Super Bowl this year. With that said, though, I mean, I think that Eagles team is tough as hell. I think this is going to be a great Super Bowl. I think this is, again, very similar to what you saw in that first Super Bowl matchup. I get it, what the numbers say, and the over under being where it's at. I just think these two teams are too good offensively. Well, the Eagles are too good offensively, and the Chiefs still have Pat. So with that said, I think this is a close game. It goes down to the wire, but I got the Chiefs to win 31-27. I think Pat Mahomes gets the ball with a minute left, and for your guys' sake, I hope it doesn't happen, but I think he gets the ball with like a minute left, and he goes down the field, scores a touchdown, and we're looking at a three-peat.
So much like Cottrell, I have no problem picking against my home team, or just being honest when I think sometimes things aren't going to go necessarily my team's way. But I've also started something 2 years ago when I think the motto has just kind of been, the better team won just because they're better. I started to say it a lot when Michigan won the championship. I picked Ohio State this year just because I thought they were better than everybody. The Philadelphia Eagles are the better football team. It'll still come down to execution. It'll still come down to beating Pat Mahomes on the biggest stage. It'll come down to a couple crucial plays. The Philadelphia Eagles as a whole, both units across the board, are a better football team. I think Kellen Moore needs to call a great game. I think they need to trust their players. They need to trust trust the game plan. The biggest difference in this game is Saquon Barkley. He was not in the last game. I think Jalen Hurts is going to play with that chip on his shoulder. I know we mocked him a little bit earlier in the year, but I mentioned it earlier in the show. The last 5 weeks, the guy's been automatic. There's a video of him today walking in to the Superdome, and they were replaying images from the last time they played the Chiefs, and he literally walks by the TV as they're showing his fumble, and he kind of smirked, never broke stride, kept walking. The guy's locked in. I'll give you the bold statement of the game. Jalen Hurts outplays Patrick Mahomes in this football game. Might not necessarily be box score, but it'll be no turnovers. It'll be efficient. It'll be him getting the ball out when he has to, setting up Saquon Barkley to do what he needs to do. I agree with Gene. I think this defense eats. I think the one time that Patrick Mahomes looked human was when they couldn't block their front four against that Tampa Bay in that Super Bowl. I think you're going to see a lot of it. This offensive line for Kansas City is not as good as it was a couple years ago. And I would argue that our defensive line is definitely better. Trust the players, trust the game plan. I think as long as everybody does what they're supposed to do, I think the better football team is going to win. I think it's 24-21. I think as much as maligned as Jake Elliott's been, I think he hits a huge field goal late. I think Mahomes has the ball in his hands again with a minute to go. I think very reminiscent of how the last one ended. I think Jalen Carter gets home on a big fourth down, sacks Patrick Mahomes, game ends, Philadelphia Eagles win 27-21. The better team's going to win.
I love it. I look at the way the Chiefs, like the way they line up, and the Eagles play a lot of nickel, and the Chiefs don't like to run the football, and they run a lot of two tight end sets. So they try to get teams out of nickel. They try to get them in the 4-3. The Eagles are not going to get out of 4-3. Chauncey Gardner-Johnson plays like an extra linebacker. Cooper DeJean plays like an extra linebacker. So I do not think we'll have issues stopping the run of Kansas City. And I don't worry about our defensive backs on carpet playing against their wide receivers. I think we can man them up. And I think that when you look at this, like you look at DeAndre Hopkins, incredible player. I think Darius Slay has the advantage. You look at Xavier Worthy, awesome rookie. You know who's been a better rookie? Quinyon Mitchell. And you look at Juju Smith-Schuster, and you look at all the other wide receivers, Hollywood Brown. I'll take Cooper DeJean. I love what the Philadelphia Eagles look like this week. I love their defense. I love them on carpet. I think Fangio has been reading them 0-8 versus Mahomes, but I've never had a defense quite like this. And in Philadelphia, we're going to be greasing the poles, baby.
I think there's a lot of things that have kind of stuck out to me a little bit. Kansas City's already publicly announced when their parade's going to be. I think
the NFL paid for the three-peat moniker.
Yep, I think that is a huge thing for me. I think they have the cart a little bit before the horse. I really do. Will that translate on the field Sunday night? I don't know. But I promise you, I don't think there's a more locked-in football team right now than this Eagles team. I think the matchup on offensive defense between Kellen and Spags is going to be great. I think how they're going to run out of 11 personnel is a huge thing. That stat came out today. Kansas City against 12 personnel is number 3 in the league, yards per carry. When they go against 11 personnel, they drop down to 24th. Eagles run 81% of their plays out of 11 personnel. Saquon's going to have his opportunities to take over this football game on Sunday. And I think if he makes a couple breaks, makes Kansas City miss, I really think it will change how Spags has to call the game. I think the game then comes to Jalen at that point. I really do. Devonta is the one outlier that for some reason has been very consistent and very good against Spagnuolo defenses. Like Cottrell said, I don't think that changes. And I think AJ will make his plays. I do. Dallas Goedert early. Like I said, I think the biggest thing is no matter what happens, just, I don't want to use trust the process, but they got to stay within the game plan. They got to stay confident, and just not get flustered like they tend to do sometimes. But I think if they stay within themselves and what they want to do, like I said, like Gene's point too, I think they'll take their shots early with Worthy and Brown. I really do. Maybe an early turnover from Quinyon there or something like that. I haven't had to take fiber gummies, and I haven't had to take anything like that because I really, truly believe in my soul they're just a better football team. And the last couple of years in these big games, the better football team, have it be pro, college, no matter what it is, has come out on top. I don't think it changes Sunday night. I don't. I think we gave Howie the last 2 years all the gratitude and all the love in the world for putting the best roster together in football. I think it's going to shine on Sunday.
This isn't even, it's funny you say that, because two things I wanted to say, Gene, and then I'll let you get the final word there. But it's so wild that from when we started this podcast, Howie Roseman was in the hot seat. Like his seat was scorched earth. And
it was deserved, though. It was
I'm not saying it wasn't. But I'm just saying, like, from where the Eagles were then, like from when we first started the podcast to now, because now it feels like, oh, no matter who Howie picks, like fourth round, like Keely Ringo's not even playing for you guys, but like fourth round Keely Ringo, or fourth or fifth round when he got drafted, it was like, bro, this kid has all the talent in the world. Like obviously getting to Kobe Dean later, and like it just feels like he does not miss in the draft anymore. And then you can, add that on to bringing in Saquon Barkley on the contract that you did, and you got him for 3 years to even open the window up even more. Like it's just truly incredible, like how much he's been able to go from a guy who was potentially going to get fired after we first started to a guy who we look at as probably, no doubt about it, a top 3 GM in all of the NFL. And then the other thing that I wanted to bring up, just because I thought it was an interesting stat that I saw, since 2000, there's only been 2 running backs to rush for over 109 yards in the Super Bowl. And I say that exact number because they have Saquon Barkley's player prop, like rushing prop, right at 109.5 there. So that'll be something that I can't wait to see, like what his success is like, because I think it's one of those games where Saquon might be Super Bowl MVP, or it might be Jalen Hurts threw for 300 yards and, like Bill said, outplay Patrick Mahomes. So that's just one thing that I'm also going to be looking forward to seeing there as well.
Yeah, I don't need a final word. I got into all my stuff. I'm fired up. I'm trying to calm down. I'm trying to be. We got UFC, but I will say this: the Chiefs have gone 18 straight games without allowing a guy to rush for 100 yards.
Saquon wasn't in any of those games.
Derrick Henry was, though, in 2 of them. But I'll be really interested to see if Saquon Barkley runs for 100 yards or more. I don't think it should matter. I think if Spags lines up and puts everybody on the line of scrimmage, you are playing right into the Eagles' hand, who Jalen Hurts plays great against man defense. Chiefs are on the 6th most man in football. So we'll see. All right. We got UFC card.
Before we go to UFC, one thing that I want to say.
Oh, yeah, I forgot the Myles Garrett. My bad.
No, not even that. Well, you got to discuss. Yeah, let's do that first, and then before we switch over to UFC, I just wanted to update the trade details for that Jimmy Butler deal.
Okay, update the trade details now, and then we'll do the Myles Garrett.
All right, cool. So the Warriors are obviously getting Jimmy Butler. The Heat are getting back Andrew Wiggins, PJ Tucker, and a first-round pick. The Pistons weaseled their way in here. They're getting Lindy Waters III, Josh Richardson, and the second-round pick. Dennis Schroeder is getting sent over to Utah, and the Raptors are getting Kyle Anderson. So you got 5 teams involved here, which to me, I already hated the Heat's end of the deal here, but I think this makes it even worse for me.
So, Cottrell, I'm going to ask you a question. Myles Garrett is asked for a trade. How's the energy in Ohio?
Well, I mean, everybody's upset, and for the most part, nobody blames Myles. Like, they understand where he's coming from, and they're asking for Andrew Berry to be fired. They're asking for Jimmy Haslam to sell the team. So, I mean, there's a lot of upset fans. And I'd say probably 90% of them are on the side of Myles Garrett.
I mean, how can they not? I mean, it looks like, listen, I know it just came out, but one of the favorite landing spots for him is the Washington Commanders. I think that's a perfect situation for him, perfect situation for the Commanders, and it sucks to be an Eagle fan for that. But Myles Garrett, I love the way he said it in his interview. He was asked, he's down there at Super Bowl week, and they asked him, and they said, Why now? He goes, well, I wanted to let the time settle. I wanted to really take my time, not make a rash decision. And, it felt right. And he consulted with LeBron about asking for a trade out of Cleveland. And ultimately he came to the decision that I feel like he just doesn't want to be part of a rebuild. He wants to win. He wants to be a part of a winning organization. And as of right now, Cleveland's not that. So I don't blame him for asking for a trade. He is, if not the most dominant, one of the top 5 most dominant players in all football defensively. It'll be interesting to see where he goes. Any landing spots that you thought of, Shally?
No, I mean, I've heard Washington. I mean, listen, I don't think there's going to be a lack of suitors. I mean, I think it's going to be a matter of, who can afford them, and then obviously who's willing to give up the haul to get them. I mean, it's going to. I think it's going to be a haul. I don't think it's going to be. I don't see how Cleveland would let him go lightly. But in regards to his decision, listen. I mean, I think the way he plays football and that position that he plays, you look at him, T.J. Watt and Khalil Mack, and in the past, and even J.J. Watt and Micah Parsons. They almost have like a shelf life as kind of like a running back. You know what I mean? Like they take a beating, but you are really relying upon like your physicality, your speed, and all that stuff. And once that starts to go, you tend to, I don't say fall off the slope, but you tend to go downhill pretty quickly. And to your point, I don't think he probably in his mind, he knows his body better than anybody else, but in his mind, I don't think he wants to waste the next couple of years, as part of the rebuild, which it looks like. I think Cleveland's probably going to, I don't think it's a full tear down rebuild, but it's a rebuild. And, to his point, I think he wants to just go play a couple of years where, he could play on a team where he has a shot to win. And maybe if he gets a Super Bowl, then, he gets out and, before every single part of his, body starts to hurt, kind of like JJ did. So, I totally understand it. Again, I'm sure it sucks for Cottrell and all the Browns fans, but, I think noticing, like Cottrell said, that like 90% of the fans are even like, we kind of get it. And, I think he's so incredibly popular and well-loved there. You really can't blame the guy.
The odds have been, sorry, Cottrell.
No, we're going to say, what were the odds?
The odds have been released for his next team. The favorites are the Commanders, the Raiders, which make no sense to me for him to go to the Raiders, the Lions, the Patriots, which also wouldn't make sense. But one team that stood out to me that is, I'm hoping that they get in on the sweepstake, and I think they'd be a good fit for him, would be the Green Bay Packers.
He goes to Detroit, my Lord.
I don't think that he goes to Detroit. There's so much money being divvied around there.
Oh,
I think it's a situation of being able to absorb the money and I think Green Bay can do that. They don't have a lot of money locked up in a lot of places.
I was just going to say, I think for me, you made the point, and it does suck, knowing that guy who you see going to the Hall of Fame obviously wants to get out of the city. But at the same time, if I'm Cleveland, you hold all the cards in the situation. This is not the NBA. The NFL will hold players hostage, essentially. I mean, we saw it at the beginning of this year. Chris Jones wanted out of Kansas City bad, and now he's on his way to play for a third straight Super Bowl. He even held out, the first game of this year because of it.
He used to want to go to training camp.
Yeah, I mean, hey, say what you want there, but I mean, you see it all the time. Like players, they request trades. Hell, I know it because 3 years ago, David Njoku said he was on last year's rookie deal, and this is not the same comparison. Obviously, he's nowhere close talent-wise to what Myles Garrett was, but he wanted to get out of Cleveland. They said, hey, we're going to offer to make you the highest paid tight in all of football. He said, you know what? I can stay in Cleveland. You guys have sold me. So Myles Garrett's still under contract for 2 more years. I think if you do trade him, you have to get at least 2 first-round picks, or you have to get a first-round pick and a starter moving forward for the future for you. But the reality is that I think if I'm Cleveland, I hold him and see if I can figure it out at the quarterback position, because that's obviously the biggest question mark. And it's the biggest question mark, and it is It is a question that does not seem to have an answer, at this time. So, but if you figure that out,
contract you have over there,
if you can figure that out within this Myles Garrett window, then I think he'd want to stay here. I don't think he hates the city. I just think he wants to win. So if you prove that you can win while he's here, then I think he would sign an extension there. But with that said, if you shop him, you got to get what he's worth because he's the best defensive player in football.
I don't think you'll get the haul that you're expecting.
2 years left on his deal makes it interesting because it's really not a rental. Like you're going to get him for 2 full seasons. So if you're in that kind of win now window, I think it's a little. I mean, if you truly believe that you're that close, and he puts you over the top, I mean, then your argument becomes, all right, well, you're drafting probably somewhere late in the first round anyway. Is the guy we're drafting this year, next year, going to be anywhere near as good as Myles Garrett?
Oh, Cottrell wants 2 firsts. I don't think they're getting 2 firsts.
Khalil Mack got 2 firsts, and Myles is at the same peak.
I would argue it's better.
All right, let's get into UFC. We got 2 quick fights to go over, and then we'll get into our you got to be kidding me.
All right.
Not really much to go on this card. It's kind of an ass card. But I will say this. There's been no shortage of shit talk this week in UFC. And it's not even between Drakus and Strickland. It's incredible. Have you seen what?
Connor?
No. Have you seen? Yeah. Have you seen the Khamzat Chimaev and Sean Strickland beef on Twitter?
No, I haven't.
Insane. Khamzat dug up a picture of Sean Strickland as a younger kid and like the way he looks and like it's getting brutal. And I guess Chimaev and Strickland is the plans if Strickland can get through this fight versus Drakus. We'll talk about that. We'll figure out what your picks are for that. But let's start with the undercard. Tatiana Suarez, the undefeated fighter coming up to fight Zhang Weili.
Your girl.
Yeah, well, listen, I'm going to tell you something right now. The odds, I looked at, I did the same thing I do with all fights. I looked at the fight. I guessed what I thought the odds were going to be. And then I looked at the odds and I said, what the hell? I don't care that this girl's 11-0. How the hell is Zhang Weili the underdog in this fight? Who is Tatiana Suarez fought that she's won in that level? She beat Jessica Andrade in the second round by submission. That's her most notable big win on her card. And she's a favorite over Zhang Weili? Are you out of your friggin' mind? I can't wait to this fight. This is easy money. Tatiana Suarez is not winning this fight. She beat Carla Esparza and it took her 3 rounds to knock out the Cookie Monster. Carla Esparza is not tough. I like Zhang Weili in this fight. I like Zhang Weili by decision, 4-1. I think she dominates. I think she handles business. Give me Zhang Weili for the win.
Bill, you want me to go or are you going to go?
You can go.
So I'm on the exact opposite side of Gene here. Tatiana Suarez is a monster, and I know she's only got 11 fights at this point. But again, it's not who she beat. For me, it's more so how she did it. She beat Jessica Andrade. Like you can say that it was, the submission there, which ultimately it was. It was a guillotine. It was a guillotine from the bottom, I might add. That was pretty impressive. But the Carla Esparza fight, ultimately it was a TKO win, but she absolutely dominated Carla Esparza on the ground. Like she was taking down Carla at will, and to be able to do that, like that is very impressive. She's a world-class wrestler, and she also has the striking to back it up. And she's also big for the weight class. Like she's a big 125 girl. She's only 5'5", but like I feel like coming into the fight, she's probably like 145, like 150. Like she's a big girl. And I think ultimately her wrestling, and this is to take nothing away from Zhang Weili because she's incredible. She's elite. She's one of the best to ever do it. She's a Mount Rushmore of women UFC fighters of all time. And I still think that she is elite now. I just think that the way this fight goes is Tatiana Suarez is going to get her to the ground at some point and put her, whether it's she gets her back or she gets mount. But I think it ultimately comes down to the ref stopping the fight, very similar to how it got stopped in the Carla Esparza fight. So for me, I'm going with Tatiana Suarez, 3rd round TKO, not because Zhang Weili gets knocked out, but because it comes from being on the ground. And she just takes over.
This is one of those styles makes fights thing, and I think it's one of those where I think I agree with both of what a lot of you said. I think Zhang is probably the more well-rounded fighter, but I think Tatiana is going to be able to get her on the mat, and I think she's going to be able to steal rounds that way. I think this fight goes to decision. I think it's a good fight. I think Tatiana probably does enough damage with takedowns and ground and pound and control and keep her on the ground, and probably landing enough punches on her feet. I think she steals the decision 3 rounds to 2. I think she becomes new.
I would honestly hate that because I am 100% with Gene on to be the champ. You got to beat the champ. So if it's 3-2 and you're stealing it, I would hope in that case that they give it to Weili.
I think that Weili runs through her. I really do. I think that she's never fought somebody that is so as strong as Weili is, Zhang Weili is. I think that she's going to be more physical than anyone she's went against. And I think what's going to end up happening is when she takes her down, Zhang Weili is great on the ground too. And she's not like she's just a one-trick pony. She got in fights with people that were ground fighters, and she's done great. She's gotten fights with people that are strikers, and she's taken them to the ground and absolutely punished them. She's the most well-rounded 115 fighter in the UFC.
Until Saturday.
Okay. We will find out. Sean Strickland versus Dricus du Plessis. These two fought before, and it was a very good fight. Split decision. I don't think this is any different. I think that this is going to be a good fight back and forth. When they fought prior, Strickland outlanded du Plessis, but because du Plessis got him on the ground and took him down a few times, he won on the scorecards, on different people's scorecards. Strickland had more strikes landed. Du Plessis had more control. It was that good of a fight. I think this fight is a lot like the last fight. But I think Sean Strickland does enough with his hands that stop Dricus from his takedowns. I think ultimately Strickland TKOs Dricus du Plessis in the 4th round.
Want me to go again?
Yep.
All right. So for me, again, this is strange because I feel like typically we're on the same side for a lot of these fights, but I'm on the opposite side again. I don't think this fight is gonna be too exciting. Like the first fight was good because it was competitive, and I think this one will also be competitive. But Sean Strickland wants to jab you to death, and Dricus is gonna want to get Sean to the ground because he's gonna get tired of getting jabbed. So I think it's, you get your rounds where Dricus kind of just lays on Sean, which is going to win him some rounds there. But I also think, to Gene's point, Sean is going to win the stand-up striking matchup there. So I think it goes to decision. I got it 3-2 Dricus, but I don't see this one being too exciting. I think it'll be close. It'll be competitive, but as far as I have to see this fight, or, I'm looking forward to see it because it's going to be that interesting. It just doesn't have that value to me.
I tend to agree. I think Jesus wins. It's probably a decision. I think Sean would have to probably become something he isn't, or try to do something out of the ordinary to win this fight. Again, I don't think I definitely agree Sean's the better stand-up fighter. I don't think Jesus is just going to stand there in front of him. I think he's going to take him down. I do think it has kind of the dud factor possibility for sure. A lot of lay and pray, but I think short of Sean catching him, which he could do, but I mean we've seen him just take shot after shot. I think Jesus is just going to be too good on the ground and just too consistent. I think he's just going to win by decision.
Let's move on to You Gotta Be Kidding Me. We'll see. I think it's a lame card, if I'm being honest with you.
Oh, it is for sure. The fight last week was better than this card.
I agree. I have 2 this week, and I'm hoping one of you 2 take one of those 2. I really genuinely, I have 2 that are very strong. I'll even put them in the private chat if one of you guys are struggling for one. But
I got one, and I'm not struggling, and I'm not changing. But
okay, maybe Bill is. Maybe I can help Bill.
I actually had one, but now different stuff's come out about it, and I can't. I'll probably use it next week. I can't talk about it now because I think there's conflicting shit about it.
I just typed 2 of them in the private chat, and I want you to read both of them and tell me that you don't want either one of them. You can type which one you want.
Where's
am I right?
No, for sure. It's all on the right. It's at the bottom. I don't know why
I got it.
Yeah, no, I'm not taking either one of them.
They both need to be said, one or the other.
100%. Bill, I'll give you time. I'll give you time.
I don't want the second one. I want Gene to do the second one.
Okay.
I just have to remember what the other guy said.
Oh, I got you.
Oh, yeah. But anyway, I'll give you guys time to figure that out. But for me this week, I'm rolling with LSU and Brian Kelly for the situation that happened with Greg Brooks Jr. For those of you that don't know, Greg Brooks Jr. was college football player, had started his career at Arkansas, but then ultimately transferred to LSU, played there for 2 years from 22 to 2023. He recently had a Good Morning America interview that dropped earlier this week where his story really came to light. And I say that because in 2023, he had complained of nausea and vomiting, and LSU had kind of like shrug it off like, oh, it's probably this, nothing too crazy there. They kind of just kept it at bay and, just tried to see what happened there. 39 days later, the team actually decided to reach out to the neurologist to, just look at him to see if there was something deeper going on there. And that's when they found out they had a brain tumor. And I don't want to say I empathize with that training staff, but there's no way that athletic trainers would have known that that's something that's happening there. So that's not even a part of my, you got to be kidding me there. But to move on though, he has this brain surgery and he has to basically learn all of his motor functions all over again. Can't walk, can't eat, you can hardly speak. Like he has to learn all this stuff over again. And during the Good Morning America interview, his dad actually said the part that made it the most tough is that you trust your kids with these schools and these coaches to like look after the kids. And I get this is a medical situation. Brian Kelly may not have understood the significance of what was going on, but he said during that entire time, he never spoke with Brian Kelly. And to me, that's pretty damning. Regardless of and now they're in a lawsuit. The Brooks family is suing LSU and Brian Kelly for negligence and just decisions and all that stuff. And I get it. When lawsuits are involved, there's only limited things you can say, but I don't see in any world that just sending over a text or a call and just letting them know like, hey, like, we love you, kid. Like, we hope, wishing you the best or something. Not hearing from your head coach, and the kid had to have emergency brain surgery and he has all this stuff going on. Like, that's just absolutely mind blowing to me. And the part that makes it even worse is that, so the interview and all this stuff comes out and they asked Brian Kelly about it. And he had the nerve to say, we had someone from our staff there virtually every day, which lets me know that he thought because representatives of LSU was there, he thought it was just perfectly fine for him to never talk to this kid and his family ever again. And that's sick. As a head coach, like to not even know what's going on with him. You're hearing everything through the grapevine and you went to recruit this kid and met his parents and all this stuff. And you don't even have the decency to ask like, or even say like, I hope that you get better soon. Like that's absolutely sick. So if anybody needed a reason to hate Brian Kelly even more, I mean, I don't know how you can't after this one. So for me, Brian Kelly this week and what happened at LSU with Greg Brooks.
Come on, you gotta be kidding me.
What a piece of shit.
It's. I mean, listen, we've talked about it on this show, and then others. I mean, obviously we've talked about it on Coast to Coast, but there is a difference between, there's levels to being a good college football coach, and there are handling things in a business sense, but then you also look at the coaches that you can tell the kids genuinely care about their coach and genuinely care about playing for their coach and the relationship. Brian Kelly has never put on the facade of being one of those guys. You never see guys, you never see his kids, running or gushing and talking about Brian Kelly about how such a good person he is. And that's just another perfect example of why he's not. This might be the most hate-filled, you got to be kidding me, ever. Like we're like gradually ramping up here.
Oh, I don't mind. I don't mind. If you don't want to do either one, I'll do
no.
both.
I'm going to do it. I don't care at all. I'm just saying, like, it's wild the slope that we're on here on this one. So the one I was originally going to do, like I said, I'll probably do next week. Just more came out about it, and I don't want to misspeak. So, so back up. Gene did have two good ones. I'm going to go with Bryce Mitchell of the UFC. If you're not familiar, he launched his podcast last week, his first episode, which is hopefully his last one because it was absolute dog shit. I don't know how you start a podcast about fighting and the first thing you want to start talking about is Adolf Hitler. Let me be perfectly clear. I don't care what crazy learning you think or what you read in a book or whatever else. Let's just look at the facts of what this person was. Adolf Hitler is a person who came to power in Germany, didn't like Jewish people, literally put them in camps. If they didn't die there, they eventually, put them in buildings and pretty much burn them alive with their families. That's the cliff notes of the Holocaust. It is not some crazy alternate reality that Bryce Mitchell made it sound like, where he was a good guy just fighting for his country. He didn't go bad till he started taking meth, or all he really wanted to do was get all the greedy Jews out of Germany, which wasn't a thing, or because they were scared they were going to turn everybody gay. They are two of the most ridiculous statements ever. Number one, they weren't trying to kick people out of Germany. They were pulling Jewish people from their homes, and just because they were Jewish, nothing more, nothing less. I don't know. This is like a two-pronged thing, man. I get freedom of speech, but at some point, I know Dana's a big free speech guy. At some point, this shit's got to stop. Like, we're not talking about like, hey, who do you want to vote for? And that might be controversial. You're literally talking about people people that are probably paying for your pay-per-views have direct descendants that if you're Jewish, probably had some connection to what went on over in Europe during that time. It was all bad. I don't know how you can be the face of $1 billion company and continue to let these guys say this shit. Like, this isn't, like I said, this isn't a difference of opinion. You're talking about one of the worst human beings that ever walked the face of this earth. That's who we're talking about here. Hitler was never a good guy. Let's just squash that bullshit. He was never a good human being. Once he got into power, he killed people because they looked different or because they thought different things. I don't know how much worse you can get than that. People literally got shoved into rooms with their entire family and got lit on fire. Shouldn't be talked about. Not in a Hitler was a misunderstood guy type of way. That's bullshit. That's bullshit. It needs to stop. Honestly, man, again, I completely blame Bryce Mitchell. They're his words. But at some point, Dana White's got to step in and be like, you know what? You wackadoodles got to stop with this stuff too. Like, if that's what you firmly believe, that's fine. But if you want to fight for me, you can't be projecting this, in a UFC type of way that Adolf Hitler was a good guy. Like, I don't know what the fascination with it. Like, the dude was an absolute piece of shit scumbag. I just don't get it. So for me this week, Bryce Mitchell.
Come on, you gotta be kidding me.
50 to 85 million people died in World War II. That's there 50 to 85 million people died, approximately. Million. Just, I'm Polish, I'm Jewish. He took over Poland and he mass incarcerated. He lit on fire. It wasn't just Jewish people. He put them in training camps, concentration camps. It's disgusting. Bryce Mitchell, I know you can probably kick my ass in a fight. It wouldn't stop me from taking a swing at you. Second, man, I just don't know how much dumber we can get. Dennis Schroeder, after being asked of the NBA trade deadline and being talked about Luka Doncic trade and Anthony Davis and how much it would affect Luka's money and about the trade deadline and a name that he was a name that was being passed around, and he got traded today. Was asked about it, and he compared the NBA to modern slavery. I have the exact quote if you'd like to hear it. It's modern slavery at the end of the day. Everyone can decide where you're going. Even if you have a contract, yeah, of course we make a lot of money and we can feed our families. But at the end of the day, if they say you're not going to come to work tomorrow, you're going over there, they decide that. That's got to change. He compared the NBA to modern slavery. Okay, just wanted to do a quick Google search to see how much money Dennis Schroeder has made in modern slavery. Oh, he's made over $100 million in modern slavery. He's made generational wealth in modern slavery. He's made the amount of money that he can pass down to his kids' kids, and his kids' kids in modern slavery. Oh, and by the way, I didn't know in modern slavery, you could walk away at any time you want and not show up. You know what a contract means? It means you can't break it, right? That's what a contract is. Guess what? In the NBA, if you want to walk away, that's it. You're done. They don't pay you anymore. You can walk away at any moment you want to walk away, Dennis. They don't force you to stay there. You're not in prison. Oh, and by the way, kids work their entire life to get to the moment that you're at. There are guys playing in Europe professionally. There are guys playing in Puerto Rico professionally. There are guys playing in the G League professionally that would give anything to be in the NBA, to make $100 million. Somebody needs to explain to Dennis Schroeder what slavery was. They didn't have choices. They didn't have the ability to walk away. They didn't have the ability to earn more. They didn't have the ability to progress. It's a wild comparison, bro. Wild. It's disgusting. So, Dennis Schroeder.
Come on, you gotta be kidding me.
Wow, it was fun ending the show.
We got some idiots in the sports world, man.
Bro.
I just don't know why, whatever. I mean, even that gets brought up too much. Like, I would encourage Dennis Schroeder to go back and really study what the life of a slave was really like, and actually the absolute lack of rights as a human, just a basic human being that they had.
They couldn't vote. They were looked at as half of a man. It's disgusting. They were property.
They were forced to reproduce with other people. Like, bro, I don't. These guys need to educate themselves before they start talking, and that's one of the things. Like, I don't need you to be the smartest guy in the world. Like, you were born with a gift to play a sport, and if that's what they determine, your skill set is worth it, by all means, bro, go make all the money. But don't misconstrue yourself as something else. Like, educate yourself. Yeah. Like, you can't talk about these things when you clearly don't know what went on to those people back then. Like,
and for a fact that he doesn't know. Obviously, he doesn't know. But for him to go out and say it, it just makes you think, or at least for me, I'm like, he's a German guy, grew up over there. You have no idea. You don't have a clue. That's wild.
No,
you are a grown man that has not a clue what happened.
Yeah. Being traded to another basketball team and still making whatever is in your contract is a lot different than being plucked out of Africa, put on a boat, and sold to a rich white guy in 1600 in the U.S.
Not to mention, with Dennis Schroeder specifically, this is the same guy that turned down an $80 million contract offer from the Los Angeles Lakers and ultimately found his way on the Celtics for like a vet min. Like that's because you made a poor decision. Like that, if you had that kind of deal, I guarantee you wouldn't be getting traded because nobody wants Dennis Schroeder on an $80 million contract. You should have put the pen to paper when you could, and you would have probably been stuck in Boston because no one would have traded for you. So this is really your fault at the end of the day. Wild.
Guy has been blessed beyond belief. Like Gene says, he's making $100 million. His kids won't have issue with money. Well, maybe. I mean, depending on how he acts and makes decisions, I mean, maybe he's not good with money. I don't know. But regardless, you've still been blessed with a gift. And to compare that to one of the darkest times, again, in the history of this earth, is just, it's not ideal.
Not ideal. I love the way you ended that. Let's any final thoughts, gentlemen?
I got nothing. Knew this was gonna be a crazy show. There was so much that happened this week. I mean, you got clearly these morons that make terrible decisions. NBA trade world is live and kicking there. I mean, got the deadline tomorrow there, so I'll be interested to watch all that and see how it all unfolds there. But now I'm ready to see the Super Bowl and hopefully see the Eagles dethrone Patrick Mahomes.
I love that you're rooting for us. I appreciate that. Any final thoughts?
No, I mean, I think the funny thing is the show will probably be pretty similar next week. I mean, depending on how the game goes, recap might be a little bit longer or shorter. But we'll, I mean, I even if they're Jimmy, I think there's a couple more big trades to be made. I think some wild stuff goes down tomorrow. I just read a bunch of stuff that Dallas is trying to get KD. So I mean, if that domino falls as well, that would be nuts. So, but I mean, most importantly, man, go Birds.
I have one final thought, and I need to end here. This Saturday is birthday of my best friend in the entire world. A guy I've been friends with now for 20 years. My buddy RJ, one of the best human beings you'll ever meet in your life. He's got a laugh that can make everybody, anytime he walks in a room, he's contagious. Everybody wants to be around him. Everyone wants to talk to him. He's hilarious. He's a good person. He works hard for his family. He does everything the right way. He's a good, genuine human being. One of the reasons I was so drawn to RJ is he was a big, strong dude, but he never used his strength to bully people. He used it actually to protect people that bullied others. I admire the father, the husband, and the man that he is. So I wanted to end the show wishing my best friend a happy birthday. So happy birthday, brother.
He is a guy that
birthday,
if you were around, it's very hard to not have fun. I will say
that's
that.
for sure.
He is a at the core of it all, he can be intimidating, but he's a big teddy bear. And I mean that in a very complimentary sense. So happy birthday, RJ. I also remember, I think the third time I ever met RJ was at softball. And I already knew Gene pretty well. And we were playing them, we were killing them. And I remember he threw a pitch low and outside, and I didn't swing because Gene's like, yo, like, please don't blow up our pitcher. Like, he's like my best friend. Like, so I didn't swing and hit the ball up the middle. And I remember he ended up walking me, and I got the first, and just like half joking, I said to RJ, I said, you're welcome. And he didn't know me. Like I said, he didn't know me that well. And I remember Gene was playing first, and he just looked at me. He's like, well, what the fuck's that mean? Like, were you going to hit me? And Gene's like, no. Gene's like, Gene was like, no. He's like, he didn't hit you on purpose because he likes you and like respects you. That's why he didn't swing at it. It was such a funny interaction. But that's RJ. Happy birthday, brother. He's just a good dude. Every time I don't get to see him that much, but when I do, like I said, I've never not had a good time or not laughed when I'm around RJ.
I find I get these random messages, especially during football season, random messages, fantasy football related, that just I haven't been in the league with RJ in like 3 years at this point. Like it's been a while, but he's always got something to say. Very, very witty guy. I say that for sure. He finds a way to sneak in some words to make you laugh there. But happy birthday for sure, RJ.
All right. Well, with that, go Birds. This is show 226. I'm the NFL Genius, Gene Walzak. That's Kent State's own, Cleveland's own College Cottrell, Uncle Shally, Scholastic Shally, Mr. William Shawcross. And we are signing out until the next time the Philadelphia Eagles are Super Bowl champions. Go Birds.